Hey everyone, it's me, Kirk Mastin at Mastin Labs in beautiful Seattle. And today I'm coming at you with a vibrant and airy look for your photos. I'm going to help you get that look through our very easy three-step process. And we're going to be focusing on the Fuji Color Push Pack by Mastin Labs. It is an amazing one, let me tell you. So to dive in, I'm going to tell you what the three films are all about, and then I'm going to show you, and then you will know, and it'll be amazing. All right, ready to go? Let's do it. Okay, so within this pack, we have Fuji Color 400H, pushed one stop and pushed two stops. This film is Fuji 400H. It is a very popular film for wedding photographers in particular. It has a normally light and airy pastel look, but when you push it, you change it. And I could get into what pushing film is like, but I'd rather you go and watch our video on how to push film, and then you will know. But in general, you get a different look from the film when you develop it longer in chemistry, when you ask your lab to push it. So 400H, yes, still has pretty much the same colors, but it becomes more vibrant, has more contrast, and if you push it two stops, you start to get these really beautiful pink highlights. It's a great film, and it's so cool when you push it. All right, next, Fuji Color 160 NS pushed one stop and two stops. It's similar to Fuji Color 400H. However, pink and cyan are more emphasized in 160 NS than in 400H. It has a medium contrast with very peachy skin tones. So imagine the color of a peach. It's kind of in between, I would say, orange and pink. And that is where you get peach. And that is kind of the direction that 160 NS goes. It's a really beautiful film. And then last on the list here is Fuji Color 800Z. It is an extremely hard film to find. It took me years to find enough fresh film to actually make presets from it, but I'm glad I did because it's beautiful. It's in the same family as 400H and 160 NS, but it has, again, even more contrast and more vibrant color. It is the loud, exciting, colorful cousin to the other two films, and I love it. When you push it, you get pink not only in the midtones, but also in the highlights. It can get pretty extreme, but on the right photo, it really sings. So how do you use these? It's easy. We have a three-step workflow that's as easy as shooting film and getting a beautiful look with real film. You just need to, one, apply the preset to your image, and this puts the right color palette and micro contrast into the image as your starting point. Second, you need to adjust the exposure. Most camera sensors will try to protect the highlights even when they're in auto exposure mode. And this means that your image will, in general, be imported into Lightroom a little too dark. So you're going to have to increase the exposure sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. The last step is to adjust white balance and tint. And again, this is something that no camera can get perfectly correct, even with auto white balance. Unless you were there, you don't know, or the camera doesn't know, if it was shooting a sunset or just a really bright light in a room or whatever. It's making its best guess, so you have to adjust the white balance and tint as necessary to get a beautiful image. But these are very easy steps, and none of them require you to dive into the really complex controls in Lightroom, like hue, saturation, and luminance, and so forth. So, all right, we ready to edit? Yes, let's get started. Okay. Remember what I said about the films and about the workflow, and see how it works with these images, these amazing images. I'm going to start with this image here. And the reason I chose this image to start with is that it's already set up to show you a light and airy look, but there's so much white in the image, a white background, white dress, that I can show you the subtle shifts in the highlights and midtones as you push a film more and more. So let me open up Fuji Color Pushed. And we'll start with Fuji 400H pushed one stop. So I apply it. And this is a rare case. I'm actually going to bring the exposure down. I know I'm like totally going back on what I just said, but in this case, it was manually exposed, fairly bright. I'm going to bring it down a little bit, and now I'm going to go into temperature and tint until I get the skin tone dialed in to where I want it. I'm going to drop the temperature just a little bit. And now I'm going to look at the skin and see, is there anything in this photo that tells me that the image is a little bit globally too green or too magenta? And I'm going to cancel that out with a tint slider. But it shouldn't be more than just a few points in either way. So looking at this image, I'm going to say if anything, it could go towards green just a tiny bit. And I'm looking at their hair right here. These are like twin sisters, I believe. And I'm going to just go a little bit towards green, like just a few points there. Yeah, right about there. Perfect. That is how easy it is to get a nice edit, like a really nice edit. It was just really 3 steps. Apply the preset, adjust the exposure a little bit, and white balance and tint. I'm going to do one more thing before I compare this to the other films within this pack. I'm going to apply lens correction. And this is not something that was in my list of 3 steps for editing. This is kind of a bonus tool. And there's several bonus tools in every pack that help you just do small refinements. So in this case, I'm going to use lens correction on. And that evens out all the distortion and vignetting around the image. And to me, this image really needed it to really make it even and look really, finished. One thing is that by removing the vignetting, I think it's a little too bright now, so I'm going to further decrease the temperature or the exposure just a tiny bit. There we go. Okay, I'll make a copy of this, and I'm going to show you the difference between some of these different film styles. So this is Fuji 400H pushed 1 stop. Now, if I push it 2 stops, if you'll remember, I said that it shifted a little bit pink. So let me show you what I mean. So there is Fuji 400H pushed 2 stops. You'll notice immediately that the background is now kind of this peachy pink color, just very, very slightly. Also, the highlights are a little bit flat on the very end. They don't go to that super bright, clean white that you have when you push Fuji 400H just 1 stop, which we have here. So that's kind of a big shift there. Now I'm going to go on to 160 NS. 160 NS has a very similar shift towards peachy highlights, but they're not quite as pink. They're a little more orange. And then if I make one more copy, I will show you Fuji 800Z push 2 stops. So there's 800Z push 2 stops. This is kind of on the extreme end, the other end from 400H. The biggest change here from 400H to here is that besides the highlights getting to have that more of that pink overexposed Fuji look, we're also getting a big jump in saturation, like in her cheeks and in their skin tones. It's really, really cool. Let me put them all up here for you. Okay, so let me make sure I'm getting this right. We've got, 400H push 1 stop, 400H push 2 stops, 160 NS pushed 1 stop, and 800Z pushed 2 stops. You're not going to see as big of a difference between these last 3 until we get into an image that has more color in it, like trees, big green patches, or areas of blue, etc. We have a very limited palette in these images, but I just wanted to show you what happens to the highlights between all of them. So on that note, I'm going to go to an image that has more variety of color. Okay, so let's do that exercise one more time. Here is Fuji 400H pushed one stop. I'm going to do my basic edits, a little bit brighter. I'm going to cancel out some of the red with green, just a tiny bit of green, and I'm going to cool it off just a little bit. Perfect. Here's just a quick before and after. So you can kind of see the vibrancy that you get when you push film. And this is just like an exciting 400H. If you compared it to 400H in the original pack, this has a lot more color and oomph to it. But they're both really, really nice looks for wedding photography. I'm going to make a few copies of this. And then we'll go through those other films again. All right, so here is Fuji 400H pushed two stops. And I'll roll over it a few times so you can kind of really see. So here is one stop, two stops. One stop, two stops. And I'm just going to leave it there for now. Okay, next photo over, I'm going to do Fuji 160 NS pushed one stop. I'll roll over it a few times so you can see. But in both examples, you can see how the highlights are knocked down and we're starting to get kind of a pink shift. This pack, its kind of main characteristic is that very light and airy, overexposed kind of magenta pink highlights and peachier skin. Just the variations between the films let you really fine tune it to exactly how you want. Here's Fuji Color 800Z pushed two stops. And you can see a huge shift in the reds and a little bit in this blue piece of ribbon down here and in the background. There's quite a bit more contrast on this side of her face. And these four photos will show you a little more of the difference between all four of these films. So working from left to right, we've got Fuji 400H pushed one stop. Next up, we've got 160 NS push one stop. So we're getting that little bit of pink in there. You can see it in the board in the background here on the side, a little bit in the highlights. It's just kind of slowly changing. On the next one down, we have, the second one is 400H push two stops. So this is 400H push one stop, 400H push two stops with a little more pink. Third one down, we've got Fuji 160 NS pushed one stop. And on the very far right, we've got Fuji Color 800Z pushed two stops. And you'll notice that it's getting quite a bit more contrasty on this side of her face. And the flowers are changing quite a bit from the previous ones. Okay, let's get to something with some blue in it. Okay, so for this image, I'm going to do Fuji 400H push one stop. Cool it down a little bit to get her skin tones right. And I think she could use a little bit of green, just a tiny bit of green. There we go. And increase the exposure. So another part that I wanted to show you is how the tone profiles work. Underneath the film, we've got a tone profile section, which comes from the Fuji SP3000 film scanner that we use, that I love for its look. And these tone profiles are built to help you tame very distinct areas of your image. For example, Highlight Soft is just for handling highlights that are a little bit too bright. Shadow Soft is for bringing out detail in the shadows. And you can combine them into settings like All Hard and All Soft to do more of a global change where you're either retaining detail across the highlights and shadows, or you're adding contrast across the whole image. So for example, if I wanted to just tame these highlights on her arm and on her chest, I would do Highlight Soft. And you can see it knocks it down without changing the image, radically. If I wanted to do that and bring out detail under her hat, instead of doing Highlight Soft, I would do All Soft. Like that. And actually, that's where I'm going to leave it. That is, it's my favorite tone profile setting is all soft in general, because I like to have a lot of detail across the entire range. On the other hand, there are some fashion photographers who love going completely the other way with like all hard, like that. So here's all hard, here's all soft. And it's as easy as just picking which tone profile you want to add to the film. Or you could use none. It doesn't really matter. If you want just the simplest edit possible, just do the 3 steps, pick a film, adjust exposure, white balance and tint, and you're done. So here is before and after. And for a completely different edit of the same photo, I'm going to pick, let me pick 160 NS, push 2 stops. So there's 160 NS, push 2 stops, and you get kind of a dreamier, I don't know, like pastel look across kind of the middle of the photo, and yet you still have a lot of saturation and contrast in the face and in the flowers. There's a lot of versatility in this pack, and it's really popular among fashion and editorial photographers in particular, and also wedding photographers who want a little more punch than what you get from the more traditional pastel look of Fuji Original, anything in the Fuji Original pack. So in a studio setting, this pack really does well too. I love this photo. It has really cool indoor light, or it has studio lighting with a key light and a fill light. And I find that the films in this pack really respond well to studio lighting. For example, here's Fuji 400H push 1 stop with a exposure bump and a slight adjustment to, I would say just the tint. It's a little bit more magenta. Right about there. And just like that, in like three steps, you have a really, really nice image. I think I would also play around with lens correction on this one. No, I kind of like the vignetting. Okay, sometimes I won't use lens correction because in this case it really works. It brings a lot of attention to his face to have the edges be a little bit darker around the sides. So yeah, it looks really, really good. I love this image. And then we also have this image here, which is shot with just natural light inside, but it's kind of like a fan favorite, like within the office. And I want to show you what happens to the green and her skin tones. In this image, I'm going to do 160 NS push to 1 stop. And now you're getting like almost like a really beautiful Vogue moody look using the same presets that you used to get a look like this. It's pretty awesome. Like you can do both. And you can also shoot in the studio with lights. It's really, really versatile. By pushing the film and adding that contrast, you give it a very nice 3-dimensional look that works in a lot of different types of light situations. But back to this edit. I applied 160 NS. I might bring up the exposure just a tiny bit, just so I can see a little bit more of that green background, and I'm going to warm it up a little bit. And there is your before and after. It's a great pack. I really, really enjoyed developing it. It was really, really fun to see exactly how each film changed as I pushed it. And it actually informed me to do better pushed film work with real film after making this pack. So it's great. It really broadens your tool set for your imagery. And again, this is a great pack for people that are kind of in that zone of like weddings or editorial fashion. It's really nice. If you have any questions about how to use this pack or how to use anything that we make at Mastin Labs, or if you don't even own anything, just contact us directly. Just slide right into our DMs on Facebook by going to m.me/Mastin Labs. Just put that in your browser, click on it, you'll go right into our DMs and you can ask us questions, and we will edit your photos, your raw photos, and show you what Mastin Labs looks like on your photos so you know for sure that it's right for you. We can also look at your work and help guide you to the right pack for your style. Also, before I forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We have great content coming out every single week, and you don't want to miss it. We've got everything from shooting film to pushing film to editing to business to website critiques. We just want to help you succeed, so don't miss out on that. And last but not least, if you're not in the Mastin Labs community on Facebook, you are missing out. We have big open arms for everybody to join us. You don't have to own anything we make. It doesn't matter. We just want to make a friendly place where you can grow as a photographer. So come join us, meet everybody, drop a few raw images in there, and you'll probably have like 25 people edit them for you and just blow your mind with how great they can look with different looks. So until next time, happy editing and have a great day.